Hey, it's Marley. Welcome to my booktube channel. Today I'm going to be doing some summer book recommendations. So this is kind of ironic because it's literally rainy and dreary out, but as we are approaching the summer months, I wanted to do some summer book recommendations like I have been doing throughout the year for winter and spring. Now it's time for summer. These books all have a very summery vibe, summery setting that I think you should pick up this season if you have not already. First up, we have 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. It's literally in the title. It's about these characters who spend 7 days together in June, in summer, when they're in high school, and they really have this great bond during this week that they spend together, but then something kind of tears them apart. They end up meeting again. I think it's like 20 years later or something like that. They are now both adults. They are both authors. They meet at an author event and kind of rekindle that relationship that they had so many years ago, see if it could still work. It's a really beautiful second chance romance. It was also a great book for any book lovers. As I said, they both are authors in their respective genres, so I think it'd be really enjoyable for any book lovers out there or wannabe authors. And this was also just such a great romance. The chemistry was great between the characters. It was angsty, it was funny, it was joyous, kind of just all the elements that you want to see in a romance book. So I would highly recommend you pick up this one this summer. The next one is a thriller, and that is going to be The Perfect Ruin by Shanora Williams. This was not necessarily my favorite thriller of all time, but it was very exciting, very twisty, and had those great summer vibes, as I think you can see from the cover as well. It's about this girl who has had quite a traumatic life. Basically, someone kind of ruined her life years ago, and she's had this grudge out for them, but she doesn't know who it was that ruined her life. But then when she finally learns the name of the person that ruined her life, she makes it her mission to go ruin their life and act out this whole revenge plan. And the person in question is this very rich lady. I think she's like a social media influencer, a very famous kind of rich person who lives in this big mansion and all this stuff. And so she infiltrates her life and is going to take her down and get revenge. And it has very summery vibes. It takes place in summer, I think in like LA. A lot of scenes by the pool, camping, stuff like that. So it's a perfect thriller to read right now. Next up is another romance. I feel like romance is a really good genre to be reading in summer, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. Again, you can see from the cover all of the summer vibes. This is about these two characters, Harriet and Wynne. It's a bit of a second chance romance trope again, where they have been together and actually engaged for years, but then they ended up breaking up, but they never told their friends. So when their friends invite them to this cottage weekend that they always go on together, they have to pretend that they're still dating and that they also reconnect, obviously. It's also very focused on the friend group, these friendships, these other relationships going on, but it's very summery as it does take place at this cottage. We are flashing back to like other timelines throughout their lives as well. But as with all Emily Henry books, she has so many great relatable elements to the story. If you are an adult, if you are like a millennial, I feel like you will really relate to her books and the topics that she focuses on. And if by some weird chance you haven't read this yet, you really need to pick it up this summer. Now, going into a more young adult direction, we have You Have a Match by Emma Lord. Emma Lord is actually a really great young adult contemporary author that I would recommend overall. But in this book, again, you can tell from the cover the summery vibes, as we're following this girl who does this like DNA service and finds out she has this older sister that she never knew about, that clearly her parents must have given up for adoption before she was born. And so she ends up arranging to go to this summer camp with her sister to meet her, to bond with her, and find out like why was she given up for adoption. So obviously it really focuses on the summery vibes at this camp. It has a lot of great sister themes obviously between the two girls. There's also a romance, of course, that's included, and tackles a whole bunch of different topics that Emma Lord is really great at. So if you're looking for more of a sweet, short book that would be great for like a younger audience as well, or an older one, like I read this as an adult too and really enjoyed it, then I would definitely recommend You Have a Match. Then a book I've recommended already a lot on my channel, but I'm gonna mention it again, is Carrie, Soto is Back by Jenkins Reid. This is about tennis, and I feel like in summer, a lot of people play tennis. And so if you're one of those people, or if you like playing any kind of sports during summer, this would be a great book to read in between your matches or whatever. This is about a famous tennis player named Carrie Soto. She like broke so many records and was just like the best female tennis player of all time basically before she retired. And then when there's this new tennis player that seems like she's gonna beat some of Carrie's records, she decides to come out of retirement and try to keep her standing with like the most wins or whatever. So it's about her kind of getting back into training, playing tennis, the competitive nature of it. It's great for even people who don't like sports or tennis like myself. I really didn't know that much about the sport, but you learn so much in this, and she makes it so interesting as well. So this would be a great book to pick up during this time. Taylor Jenkins Reid also focuses on a lot of other themes in this book, like the father-daughter relationship that Carrie has with her dad, friendships, and then also there is a romance too. Carrie is kind of like an unlikable character in a way, so that's really interesting to read about too. It does take place in her like Taylor Jenkins Reid universe, so there's also connections to her other books as well if you've read those. But yeah, this would be a great read for the summer. It would be a very quick read, recommend. Another book with a very summery cover is Blood Sugar by Sasha Rothchild. This is a thriller, but it's kind of more of like a character study thriller. But one of the reasons I would recommend it for summer is, first of all, because I think thrillers are great to just have a quick read sitting by the pool, by the beach, whatever. But also this takes place mainly in Miami, and so it very much has that summery, hot kind of party vibes. We're following this woman who is a serial killer. She has killed multiple people throughout her life, and now she is, you know, with this man, her husband, and he ends up dead, and people start suspecting her. But the only thing is she didn't kill her husband, but she did kill other people. So she's trying to get out of this investigation and try and prove she didn't kill her husband, but also hoping the police don't catch on to the fact that like she has killed other people in her past. So it's very interesting in that respect, but we're really just focusing on this woman's life, why she ended up killing those people, how she's been living her life. And the reason it's called Blood Sugar is it does have to do with a little bit with the fact that her husband was type 1 diabetic, and so that's where the name came from. And that was something I really enjoyed about this book. It's probably one of the best books for type 1 diabetes representation. So that's just another little aspect to it. Definitely recommend if this sounds interesting to you and if you like following the perspective of serial killers. Now, throwing in a little YA thriller, we have The Counselors by Jessica Goodman. She has a few different young adult thrillers out, and this is one that takes place at a summer camp, which is always such a fun vibe for a thriller. We're following a main character who always loved going to the summer camp. It's more for like rich kids, and she's a townie, but she's able to still go there. I think her parents work there or something like that. It's always been like this safe space for her and all that, but this year a kid turns up dead. And it seems like our main character might know something about it, or her friends might be involved, and it's this whole mystery of what happened with this kid and this sort of mysterious past that our main character has and the connections with the summer camp. It was quite a fun read. Again, it's young adult, it's pretty short, it's pretty quick. This one also had some interesting type 1 diabetic rep actually too, so definitely one that I would recommend. I think it's one of Jessica's better books. Another thriller recommendation I have for this summer is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This is one of my favorite books from him. I really loved it. It's about this woman who is living on this lake because she recently went through a loss, and she is grieving, and she is an alcoholic and just drinking a lot and spying on her neighbors that live across the lake. So it definitely has this summer vibe of being on a lake, but basically she befriends one of the neighbors that she lives across the lake from, and then that woman that she befriended ends up disappearing. So she takes it upon herself to try and figure out where did this woman go, and she is really suspecting the husband from what she has seen. So it is a mystery of what happened with this woman and our main character trying to figure it out. And there's a few, you know, suspects that live on the lake. There's also kind of a mysterious past that we're unraveling. It's very twisty. It's very fun. It's crazy. It really goes in some weird directions and crazy directions. So if you want an exciting, twisty thriller, definitely check this one out. Now, for a bit more of a cozy read this summer, I would recommend The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This is a fantasy book about this man who is in charge of like checking in on like orphanages for mythical creatures, like mythical children. children. So he ends up going to this one orphanage that is the house on the Cerulean Sea. He's more of a like grumpy kind of character, very like strict in his rules, stuff like that. But going to this house with all of these children who are all like outcasts, and the guy who runs the orphanage, he ends up having like a romance with him and bonding with these children and kind of just growing as a person. It's that kind of trope of like a grumpy person becoming a nicer person through these relationships. It's really, really sweet and beautiful. And if you want a bit of like a fantasy read this summer, I think this is the only fantasy book on this list, then I would check this one out. And then finally, I want to recommend Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This is a cozy mystery kind of thing. It's about this woman who accidentally kills someone, and then her and her aunties are trying to cover it up and like get rid of the body amongst this big wedding that they are putting on, because her and her family are like wedding planners. So it's this really chaotic book, but it's very, very funny. Like, this is one of the most funny books I've read, I feel. It's just silly. It can be stressful too because of what these characters are dealing with, but I think it would be perfect for summer. I think it'd be a really fast, fun read, again, for you to just kind of binge while you're out sitting in the sun. It has the wedding vibes, which of course a lot of weddings are happening in the summer, so definitely have to read this one if you have not checked it out already. I'm pretty sure this is being made into a movie too, so another reason to read it. It definitely reads just like a movie, like a little cute little Netflix movie that you would watch about this chaotic wedding, so definitely have to recommend that one too. So those are going to be 10 of my summer book recommendations. Hope you'll check them out if you have not already. Let me know if you have any summer book recommendations down below, and feel free to give me a like and subscribe if you have not already. I hope you have a great summer, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!